On the 16th of August, 2013, a member of the popular website Reddit, going by the name ArgBrains, posted a comment on the thread about the dirty secrets of industries. ArgBrains identified himself as a mortician and opened his comment with the statement, "Our entire industry is basically a pyramid scheme."
Oh, hello. I'm a mortician, which means you found me as I usually am on a lazy summer afternoon, working on my list of
schemes.
Step 1, build pyramids. Step 2, fill the pyramids with dead bodies. Step 3, charge the family like $432,000. Step 4, use the money to build a pony made of cronuts. So today's Ask a Mortician question is the funeral industry a horribly corrupt pyramid scheme, as suggested by this guy / maybe girl, but we'll say guy for pronoun's sake, on Reddit. Oh, twere it so simple. But you know what is simple? None of the things that the guy is whistleblowing, like overcharging families in times of grief, is actually the definition of a pyramid scheme. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. So most of ArgBrain's rant is about funeral business practices, specifically corporate funeral business practices. About 15% of the American funeral industry is run by big old corporations, the same way pharmaceuticals or fast food or banks are run by corporations. Death used to be taken care of by the dead person's family, but now death is a business, a for-profit business. And most corporations know that you don't want to hand over mom to a corporation when she dies. So when they come into a community to buy a funeral home that's already been there for 75 years, they don't change the name. They'll keep O'Malley and Sons or Brown Smith Funeral Home. So unless you read the fine print, you won't know that their policies and prices are corporate. When you have an elaborate corporate structure concerned with profits for shareholders, maybe the people working on the front lines are really concerned about grieving families. But as you move up the ladder, they kind of lose sight of that real quick. So I am totally with this guy in his distaste for the corporatization of the funeral industry. In major metropolitan areas like where I live, the percentage of corporate funeral homes is even higher. So I know a lot of people who worked or currently work in corporate funeral homes, and they are made to upsell products. And they get calls from corporate in like Houston if their sales quotas for the month haven't been met. I see here that you've been having a bad month. Maybe a lot of low-income families. Maybe a lot of cremations. So while this guy brings up some good points, I have two main issues with his post. First, he doesn't get to say that the entire industry is corrupt based on his experience. It's like me saying, I am a woman who loves the death rituals of Papua New Guinea. Ergo, so forth, therefore, all women love the death rituals of Papua New Guinea. In the companies I've worked for in the funeral industry, I've never had to upsell families. That just wasn't the way the companies I worked for operated. If you came in looking for the $872 cremation, you leave having paid only for that $872 cremation. I never had to try and get families to embalm when they didn't need to. I never had to upsell caskets or get them to rent the Hummer, Escalade, hearse limo, all the things that the guy says that he had to do at his company. Meeting with families, I had a whole wall of urns behind me, some of which are like fancy gold-plated dove urns, but I didn't even have to mention them unless a family is like, Caitlin, that dove urn, I must have it at any cost. I would certainly never tell a family that they loved their father less if they don't spring for the $300 tacky golf club urn. I would never work for a place like that, not only because I think it's wrong, but I'm also a terrible salesman. I couldn't sell ice water to people in hell. My second issue with this guy's post is its doomsday tone, which kind of sets back the people who are trying to make death seem less scary. And maybe it was so inflammatory because he wanted to try and get upvotes on Reddit, and it would have been different if he had to use his real name for like an op-ed in the Times or something. Quote, "You are now going to pay a stranger thousands, oftentimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to systematically mutilate that body." Oh, geez. Well, I don't want that. Quote, "See my coworkers standing around looking somber and respectful? They're not there just to have the presence of authority, they are studying you. They are watching the family dynamic and will report back to me with any potential angles I can play to manipulate your emotions, which family members are taking it the hardest and will therefore be the easiest prey." As I said, the people I know working at corporate funeral homes are made to do things they don't agree with because of corporate policies. But I have never heard any of them, get off on their own evilness the way this guy seems to. And maybe he's a man broken by the system. I don't know his situation, but it sounds like he needs to GTFO. This is not for you, my friend. Or come join the people in the funeral industry who are trying to reform how we do death. The water is very nice and ethical over here, and I can go to bed most nights okay with my humanity. The fact is, no reforms that ARG brains could advocate for would mean as much as the choices that you make as a consumer. Nothing would make me happier, and I'm serious, this is my life's work, than if everybody was suddenly like, screw the funeral industry, I'm gonna take care of my own dead, as humans have for tens of thousands of years, and reclaim my positive relationship with mortality in the Western world. But that's probably not going to happen. For a while, we're probably going to continue to go to funeral homes when someone we love dies. So know what services you really want. Know whether or not you agree with embalming. Know whether or not the place you're going is corporate. Don't let them take advantage of you. And yes, when someone dies, you're probably going to be grieving and distraught. So think about it now. Don't not understand death because you're afraid of death. Understanding death makes you a better person in general. I promise. Hello, grieving family. Would you like to buy a pyramid scheme?